Popo's Backyard Farm. In case you're new to the channel, if you're not, you know who I am. We're just showing you the bunnies. This batch of bunnies is probably 3 weeks old now, and we're just starting to get used to being held a little bit. Put his ears up and not to be itchy behind the ear. They're nice little bunnies. One of them had 7, the other one had 9. We've got other bunnies over in the other area.
And they're starting to eat and drink.
Yep, starting to eat and
Mama.
drink on their own. This has got a big old wad of bunnies down there, huddling up with Mama, sleeping.
And Clay talk about those dishes.
We went to Real Deals. I don't know if Real Deals are all over the country or not, but Real Deals is like a not a Family Dollar, but Dollar Tree. I don't know if they're all over the country, but everything in the stores for $1 or less. Real Deals only deals with cash and check. You can't use a debit card there. But we bought some plastic dog dishes. They're shaped like a bone, but that doesn't mean anything. We just want something a little longer so the bunnies could get in there and all eat at the same time.
Because they're eating and they're starting to drink.
Okay, I'm gonna put this bunny back.
And he's going to show you the back. He made a back entrance, which is nice. There's Blue, the mommy.
Hey, Mama.
She's a little bit more shy. These two bunnies are a little bit more shy, but they've been warming up.
Yeah, they were really afraid when we first got them.
But they know the magic word, T-R-E-A-T.
Yeah, when you say food, they're right there and water, they're right there for you to give it to them.
But the babies are starting to drink and eat, and then her babies too.
And they get inside them dog dishes pretty good. As they get older, we'll take the dog dishes out and we'll give them back their regular feeders, which is these here. The does eat out of these.
Now, how long before
They're
they
old
leave
enough
their
to go?
mama?
I usually wait till the 6th week. You know, they can go in the 5th week, but I usually wait till they're 5 to 6 weeks old, depending on the size. Now, April's bunnies are a day older than these bunnies, and they're about twice their size, only because she only had 2.
Yeah,
And she could feed and maintain those 2 bunnies, and they grow faster when there's only a couple to compete with. These guys got, now Sunny has got 10 bunnies, so they're only about half the size of Spring's, and Spring is bunnies of the same day.
and in the end, when we're all done, the goal that we had was to sell and butcher, and we want to be done with our,
We'll be done butchering by September.
yes, everything sold in the freezer.
I don't want to be
sold as
butchering. I
pets.
don't want to be butchering in the cold weather.
And also, we're not going to keep all the does. We're only going to keep maybe 2 does, maybe
Maybe 3 does. in a
maybe
buck.
3 and a buck.
If we buy, we might just not put a buck in there all winter, and not support a buck all winter. We'll just buy a buck in the spring.
Because we really only want to do 1 litter a year, because there's only 2 of us. And we're not in it to sell bunnies and to raise bunnies. We're in it to fill our freezer, and the excess we're going to sell off, you know, because we said, well, if we sell the bunnies for $10 a piece, and
Or
whatever
less.
we don't sell is going to pretty much go in the freezer.
Well, the bigger ones are going in the freezer anyways.
Right, the bigger ones will, but some of these guys are little.
They're still a little shaky, but as they get older, they'll be fine.
Yeah, they're, you know,
She's getting a little better, Mama. It's letting her pet her nose.
yeah, sometimes,
She
like you
wouldn't
said,
come anywhere near you before. I mean, she was always stuck in the corner with her head down.
and we don't pick them up and take them out. I mean, we have a little bit, but we really don't, because
We treat them like pets, but we don't pick them up. We give them their
spay.
treats or apples or carrots, the grass, whatever they. Yeah, I think that's a buck. See that little gray one? The reason why I think it's a buck because its face is round.
Okay.
The doe's muzzle will come more to a point,
Yeah,
like a
hers-
dog muzzle,
Okay, and then
and
that
the
would be a
little
male?
bucks usually have a little round face. But that's just the way I've been. If I go to the auction and I see them in the cage, I can pretty much tell by looking at them whether they're bucks or does. And usually when they put them in the cell cages, they usually tell you anyways, and that tells you whether you're right or wrong. So far, I've been pretty good about it.
Yeah, because you just have to be really
You just have to have been
observant.
raising them for years and know what you're looking at.
Because, you know, and I found this because
And I've been raising rabbits since I was probably 15.
Clay and I,
I had chickens when I was 13, but I didn't get rabbits for a couple of years later.
well, we've known each other now for, it'll be 7 years this year. And the thing about it is a lot of it you can learn from books and stuff, but a lot of it is time. It's just like when you first meet somebody.
Experience is your best friend as far as
Exactly.
learning this stuff, because you know what the rabbits will eat and you know what they won't eat. You pull down a weed and you know what the weed is, say it's milkweed, and you throw it in there and they won't eat it, then you know not to do it again. If you got tall grass and you rip it off and give it to them and they eat it, you know that's what they like. So it's all a matter of trial and error for rabbits.
And the more the more time you spend with it, and it's just, you know, you've got to spend the time. You really do. Otherwise, you're just going to be, you know, at loss.
See, that bunny's drinking from the bottle already.
Mm-hmm.
They're only 3 weeks old.
She's had quite a few, but this mother also too. She seemed to really show them about eating and stuff. Now she's warm. See, she's panting a little bit there, and we keep an eye on
Well,
that.
there's a nice cool breeze, so it's probably
Yeah, it's not. She's not.
not dying of the heat today.
No, she's not,
This
because
summer is going to be hot, so what you do is you put a nice cold bottle in there, plastic pop bottle, so that they can lay against it, and it helps keep them cool. Or you put a fan on them.
Right. Some people think put a fan on them. But they can get heat stroke, so you've got to watch that. So
And the way I've got this set up is underneath where the manure is, I can just take a shovel and scoop that up and use it in my garden, because rabbit manure doesn't have, you can put it right onto your garden immediately. It won't burn off your plants. So it's a good fertilizer if you've got rabbits.
And I heard somebody the other day, they were a little bit worried about they were first time rabbit keepers. I think they just got a doe. And I guess I want to address this because somebody else might have this question. Like when a doe has their first litter, sometimes they eat it, sometimes it doesn't make it. Let's talk about that for 1 second.
Well, let's
here.
go sit down while we talk about
Okay,
it.
because a lot of people have, I hear this over and over and again, and I used to, you know, worry about things, but Clay's been around. He helps me with these questions. So what happens with that first litter, dear?
Usually, I'm not saying always, but usually a rabbit with her first litter, she'll lose it. She'll either not make a decent nest, and the bunnies will be scattered all over the floor. Rabbits, unlike cats or dogs, will not pick up their babies and carry them to the nest. They'll just leave them lay there. So an inexperienced doe rabbit,
Well, what happens if they just leave them lay there?
if they just leave them lay there, they'll die.
They
They'll get cold and they'll die.
And they die.
But if she made a nice little nest with straw and hay and hair, and she accidentally has the babies on the wire, you can pick those babies up and help that rabbit out by putting them in her nest. But make sure after you pick them bunnies up that you take and rub your hand that you've been holding the bunnies with, putting them in the nest, and rub it across her nose so that she smells your hand and smells your scent. And then when she goes back to her nest and sees her babies, your scent's going to be there, and that's what she's going to smell, and she won't kick the bunnies out of the nest. She'll take care of them.
Well, they say that that's a myth, but then along with it, it's just
Yeah.
like birds.
It's never a myth if it works.
Well, no, but here's why I'm bringing.
I've never lost, if any rabbits I had bunnies on the wire, and they were still moving where I could put them into the nest. She never lost any of them.
Well, no. Here's why I'm saying that.
But a first-time doe doesn't always know what to do. So she'll either eat the bunnies, but don't get discouraged, because after a few days you can breed her back after the bunnies are gone. Her milk will dry up, You can rebreed her with the buck, and the second litter she'll know more what to do.
No,
and you won't have any
well,
problems.
no. Here's why I address the myth thing, because yeah, people say it's a myth, but if you read through,
That what is a myth?
No. They say that you can touch the bunnies, but here's the story about that. If the mother feels threatened, she could kill the babies.
Yeah.
So it's not. Is it
That's
a myth?
why I say if
Exactly.
you've got to save them babies, and put those babies in her nest, you make sure that you rub your hand over her nose a couple of times so that she's got your scent.
It's a good precaution. I know they say it's a myth, but you'll feel sick if you lose your bunnies because that rabbit felt threatened.
Well, if
That's
you've got
why.
your scent on her bunnies and you didn't rub her nose, she'll neglect them babies.
Exactly. So it's not a total myth because she could neglect them and not take care of them.
I've had rabbits that ate their bunnies,
Yeah.
their first litter, and after that they took care of every bunny they ever had. I had a black rabbit with a one white paw, and she would have 13 bunnies in a litter. That's way too many for a rabbit. So if you got a doe that's got 2 bunnies, that's why I breed all my bunnies at the same time. So when they have bunnies, if you've got one that has an overload, you could take some of them bunnies and put them in with the other doe that has very few bunnies. Like we've got, Sunny has got 10 bunnies. April had 3 bunnies and lost one.
But remember what happened to Sable when we first got her? Clay was at work.
We'll explain that in a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
But-
go ahead.
April had, or Spring I should say, is her name. Sunny had 10 bunnies, Spring ended up with 2. Now, because Sunny was apparently a mother before, she took care of all 10 of her bunnies. But you shouldn't let them have more than 8 bunnies because that's about all a rabbit is able to take care of. But apparently she was good enough to be able to raise 10, so we let her raise 10. These guys had 7 and 9, so you really couldn't. I could have took a few from Pinky and gave them to Spring so that she had more bunnies to take care of, and Pinky had less. But they were all taking care of their bunnies, so it was no big deal. Then we got to Sable. Now Sable was bred 2 weeks later than the others.
She's our silver fox.
Silver fox. She was bred 2 weeks later than the rest of them because she went through a false pregnancy. And we think this was her. They wrote proven on the box,
We got her at an auction.
but they wrote proven on the box. They spelled it proven. And when they write that on the box, chances are they're either an old rabbit or never been bred before. They write it on the box so they'll sell for more. But apparently it was her first litter. When she had her bunnies, they were all over the floor in the thing. She pulled out a nice nest. But I was at work and Ruthie thought she was doing the right thing, which she probably was. It
Well,
saved the bunnies.
Ice cold. They were
She
ice
put
cold.
they were 2 weeks difference in size, so she put Sable's bunnies in with the
Well, I gave them all
the other
two.
does.
I gave them all like 2 or 1 because I panicked because I
yeah.
thought.
But
I
you
said-
probably could have gave them all to April, and she would have been fine.
Yeah, Spring would have.
Spring.
He calls her April
I keep
too.
calling her April. I
Well,
don't know why,
the
but
reason is because her babies were all over. They're ice cold. I thought they were dead.
but
and
it warmed the bunnies up. So
and
when I
something
got
had to
home,
happen right away.
when I got home, she said, "Well, Sable had her babies, but they were all over the floor, and I had to take them out of there." So we gave them back to Sable. I put them in her nest after the bunnies were warm. We picked them up
Yeah,
and put them.
those other nests warmed those babies right up.
Yeah, we put them back in the nest, and they were already warm. So then Sable took care of them because we rubbed our hand over Sable's face, so she got the scent of us on her babies, and she's taking care of her babies fine. Now I think this was Sable's first litter, because normally a doe that has had bunnies before will make a nest, usually a day to 2 days ahead of time. And then when they have their bunnies, they know exactly what to do with them. They have them in the nest. Now, Sable didn't seem to have that motherly instinct at that time, so we helped her out.
Well, the next day I noticed she was sitting in her, like a day or so later, she was just sitting in her nest. So I said, well, let's see what happens if I throw them back in there. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you, honestly, we could have kept them with the other bunnies, right? And they would have been fine. But you can split up your babies if you have to, and that's the advantage of
But that's why I say
doing them all.
have them all bred at the same time.
Because you can say, this guy has too many, this guy doesn't have enough, and those mothers just, they don't care. They just take care of them. Now, address too, because we have time, about, because some people don't understand, like, and it also applies to wild bunnies, about them not taking care of their babies. But some people think they're not taking care of their babies.
What do you mean? Just because your rabbit is not hovering over this bundle of fur nest, don't think she's not feeding them babies. Rabbits do not sit on their nest like a chicken. A chicken will sit on their nest and hatch her babies out, and a chicken will sit on the ground and let the babies
Or a dog too, a little bit.
crawl underneath them. And a dog will feed the puppies when the puppies are whining, the dog will. And rabbits, on the other hand, have an instinct to keep predators away from their babies. So what they do is, first thing in the morning they'll feed their babies, and then late in the evening they'll go back and feed their babies. So those babies are being taken care of. You don't know that. The babies get fed. I'm so tired, excuse me. The babies will get fed, they'll lay still in the nest and not move so that the predators don't find them. But those rabbits are the only way you can make sure that they're feeding them babies is to pick those babies up and feel their bellies and see if they've got a full belly or if they're skinny scrawny. If they're skinny scrawny, she's not taking care of them.
I never see the bunnies feed their babies, ever. Do you?
I've seen them feed them.
I mean, not very often.
It's usually late in the evening.
Not very, but I should
But
say not
just
very
because-
often. You won't see it.
Just because they're not feeding them while you're there doesn't mean they're not being fed. So what I would do is I'd look at the babies, see if they've got full little bellies, put them back in the nest box, but make sure for the first week to week and a half that you rub your hand over the doe's nose so that she's got your scent on them babies, so she doesn't kick them out of the nest. After them babies are 2 weeks old, she doesn't care what scent's on them. Them babies are going to look for her. They're going to start wandering out of the nest because they'll have their eyes open. They'll be looking for their mama, and their mama will feed them. It'll be where the mama wants to get away from these babies.
Because they drive them crazy because they just want to nurse them.
That's why when you make a nest box like that over there, you have a little flat piece on the top. That gives the doe a place to go to get away from them babies, so that she's not being harassed by them babies. Then by the third week, you could take the nest box out of there, and then mama's going to have to deal with them for a week, then or 2 weeks. Then at the 5th week, you could take them all out of there and put them in grow cages, or take the mama out of there and put her in a single cage so that she can recuperate from feeding babies.
Well, we usually go 6, but we also watch too, because if they're eating and drinking on their own, but you want to make sure that every single one.
But they're going to harass mama until they can get where they're eating and drinking on their own.
Right.
Once they eat and drink on their own, they won't bug her so much for milk.
And then you just have to stay on top of it, you know. Make sure everybody's got full bellies. But you don't want to take them out too soon. That's the last thing you want to do after all that time. You'll know.
When they get to be about 5 weeks old, they're pretty much eating and drinking on their own.
So that's about all that we're going to do for the rabbit chat, unless you have anything else you want to share at this time. Just those.
If you have any questions below, please ask. But one more time, if you have to handle them bunnies, make sure you rub that mama's nose.
Yep, because a lot of people say you don't have to do that, but it's not worth it if she abandons them.
If she kicks 2 or 3 out of the nest, you'll feel bad you didn't do it.
Right. Chances.
It's an insurance. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. That's what it is. But it's because some people, like I said, they're saying the same thing that the myth is, but it's better to be safe than sorry. It's not worth it to have her get scared, and especially if you're not used to that rabbit. Okay, guys, we will see you in our next video. Like, subscribe,
and be blessed.